Tears for the Tear God, Salt for the Salt Throne, and Gas the Leaf Tribe.
Douglas Murray did an interview recently, and he brought up the great question. Compared to what? It's a question that can be leveled against almost any accusation, any single piece of information. Compared to what? Single piece of datum on its own is mostly useless. It has to be compared to something to find its value. Like, is $100 a lot of money? Well, compared to what? Is the United States a racist nation? Well, compared to what? So when accusations of racism are leveled against the entire white race, and one white person stands up and says, I have friends of color, they get branded a racist by the critical race theorists or whoever the fuck they are, and told to sit down. But when you've grown up in a city as diverse as Toronto, when you say, I have friends of color, this is not a defense against an accusation of racism. This is a compared to what? And I think that the critical race theorists who are familiar with Toronto would know that. And so they work even harder to shut it down. Racist, heretic, try and make you yourself dismissible, and everything you say following dismissible. They have to. Because you've become the most dangerous kind of white person to this ideology. You're the white person who knows too much. Going to school in a city as diverse as Toronto, you meet people from what seems like everywhere. Croatian refugees, Hungarian immigrants, Nigerians, Arabs, Persians, Latinos of all stripe, Canadian-born Chinese, Indian immigrants from Buffalo of all places. That would be import-export Indians and not illegal tobacco and fireworks Indians, for clarity. And you know what you learn meeting and interacting with all these people? What I've realized is the people of color's dirty little secret. Just how prevalent racism is in the entire world. Racism is so commonplace in the world, it's not just accepted as normal, it's expected as a standard. If a Chinese person in Beijing says aloud on the bus, I don't think the Japanese are that bad, he's going to get dirty looks from everyone on the bus like, yeah, they're that bad. They're Japanese. And I'm told Koreans also hate the Japanese. Japanese hate the Chinese. Chinese hate other Chinese for being the wrong kind of Chinese. Syrians hate Iraqis. Iraqis hate Persians. Persians hate Saudis. Saudis hate pretty much everybody. Armenians hate the Turks. Turks really hate Armenians for some reason. I don't understand that one. North African Arab countries have open-air slave markets where they sell mostly black African slaves. One black African tribe is always trying to genocide some other black African tribe. In Latin America, there is a Spanish word for denizens of every nation in Latin America. And not a word that simply translates to Colombian or Peruvian, but a racist word to denote those kinds of Latino. It is insane how racist the entire world is. It's just as insane that the only nations that have ever done anything to try and curb racism in any way are predominantly white Western nations. So when you ask, is the United States a racist country? Compared to what? Are white people racist? Compared to what? Really? Now, if you compare it to the rest of the world, no. Predominantly white nations, including the United States, are the least racist places that have ever existed, and still the only places that have ever tried to do anything about it. But I don't think that's fair. You shouldn't be comparing yourself to others. You should compare yourself to who you were yesterday. So the real question is Is the United States more or less racist than it was yesterday? Is it more or less racist than it was before the Civil Rights Movement? Is it more or less racist than it was before the abolition of slavery? The latter two questions, easy less racist. But the former, is it more or less racist than yesterday, the United States? That's harder. But if it's more racist, I don't think that's the fault of white people. I think that's the fault of critical race theorists, because somewhere along the lines, we fucked up and forgot to curb anti-white racism. Now, the critical race theorists will tell you, you can't be racist against white people because of reasons. But we know that's bullshit, and deep down, I think so do they. We've been working hard as a nation, not as a white people, but as a Western philosophy, to move past that racist thing that exists in all the world today and has apparently the entire fucking time. And the critical race theorists have gone ahead and doubled back and decided, no, racism's great as long as we direct it at the right group. It's basically the same thing that happened with feminism. Sexism bad, misogyny bad, magically morphs into men are bad. So critical race theorists went with racism bad, anti-black bad, white people are bad. They're not doing what they think they're doing, or what they claim they're doing. I doubt they think it. No one can think that. And look, I get it. These things take time. Change takes time. There will always be resistant people. And yeah, 150 years since the abolition of slavery, racism still exists in the Western world. That is a long time. It's very, yeah, it's hard. It's not just going to go away overnight. It's definitely not going to go away overnight if you start being racist to white people. Oh. Well, yeah. Yeah, no, something that, I don't know where it was coined, but I like to think that it comes from Toronto. I'm not racist. I hate everybody the same. Relevant links to shit I said in the description? Maybe. I'm Irving Twin. Like, subscribe, or don't. It's a free country. At least it used to be.